Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And welcome to the journey. This is March 11th of 2021. As I said a while ago, I think almost a week ago now, I was going to be doing this as best as possible every day for the next Lord knows how long. Kind of has turned into an interesting solution to a problem. But yes, I get distracted, so bear with me. Um, the reality of it is that I was doing journal by hand. This is a whole lot easier ever since I had a stroke 2 years ago. My left hand doesn't work as well as it used to, but I'm working with it. Now, before I go any further here, I would love to see a thumbs up. Assuming, of course, you like the video. Of course, if you don't, thumbs up is still nice. Lord knows there's a lot of people, there's a lot of videos out there that get a lot of thumbs up that people actually don't like. And this is just standard extrapolation. Okay, however, I prefer the ones where people actually like what I'm talking about, can actually relate to what I'm going through. Okay, and can gain some insight into what they themselves are going through. So please subscribe to my channel. Look forward to seeing you on the subscription list. Okay, and at the bottom of this video, you'll see a whole pile of ways of getting in touch with me. So if you're running into snags or if you'd like some insight into something, absolutely ask. Okay, and I will do my best to either answer it here or in one of my other videos. I'm doing my best to get better at things, but that's not working as well as I'd like. Don't think, yeah, you can just see it starting to show up. On the empty shelf behind me, I'm starting to put some of the figures that have definitive purposes to them. I've mentioned these before. Well, here's another one. I've mentioned these before that I paint. Well, I'm starting to identify which ones fit where, and they're going on the back shelf. So sooner or later they'll get up there as I figure out which ones are which. But again, this boils down to how we're going about living our life in this house and how it may help you to figure out how to live yours. Because the first rule of thumb is you must be true to you first. Now, I remember my older brother. He's passed away at this point. Passed away years ago. But the last thing he ever told me before he passed away, right? He sat there with. I sat on his bed with him, and he looks at me and he goes, "Keith," he says, "your mom and dad have encouraged us to be independent thinkers." Okay, he says, when we were young, we were always told, be independent, think for yourself, learn what we're telling you, follow the rules, yes, but think for yourself. But as time goes on, you may find what we did, where our parents and us got to odds. And my older brother turned around and said, he goes, whatever you do, remain true to you, regardless of what other people tell you, including mom and dad. Okay, as you get older, you absolutely must respect people, all of them, your parents included. They may have their problems, they may have their dysfunctions in your eyes. That's because you're individual people. But the key to success is to take the wisdom that they have to offer and the wisdom that other people have to offer and make up your own mind. It's the one true freedom you actually have. Now, it's funny. You have the freedom, but if we take a look at modern technology, or even listening to me, I can tell you all sorts of things, and people will say, well, there's all this subliminal programming going on, and there probably is. Well, never mind probably. We know for an absolute certainty there is. But here's the thing. You have the right and the ability to turn off the TV, turn off the gaming systems, and do something really bizarre in today's world. Talk to the people around you. Like, put that funny little phone of yours down. Mine's over there somewhere. If you see there's a white cord there, that's my phone attached to the end of it somewhere. I'm just not interested in going and looking at it right now. Pick your own path. Pick your dreams and understand something. Dreams take time to occur. They're not going to happen overnight. From everything I've gathered, when people end up with a sudden windfall, more often than not, because it's just all of a sudden plunked in their lap, they don't take the time to think things through. Net result, 3 years later, they're in worse shape than they were before. Before they had the windfall. The same thing happens if you go off not thinking things through and go, that's the road I'm going to take in life. Now, I mentioned this yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that we're led to, a lot of people are led to believe that you have to have your life organized. You've got to have a path laid out by the time you're 20 in order to succeed. Well, I get a kick out of it, really, in some ways. But Colonel Sanders, the guy that built KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, my understanding is he was 65 years old when he opened his first chicken stand. Now, from my way of thinking, that means I'm 8 years ahead of the game. Well, 7 years now, because in 2 months I'm hitting 58. Okay, do I have a different outlook on life? Oh yeah, no doubt. Okay. Yeah, I know. My other coffee cup right now is sitting in the on the drying counter. So we're using one of my others. The reality is, okay, when you start looking at what's going to make you content, as you can see behind me, and I told you were going to be able to start seeing it. Things are starting to, okay, maybe that showed up before, because now I can see some of them. Some of the figures that are standing on that shelf. Okay, I will be eliminating all of the junk. I've come to the conclusion that I've got a lot of junk that I really don't need. Understand, I used to be a professional pack rat. I would hang on to everything except actual physical garbage, which, in my understanding, is quite literally the difference between being a pack rat and being a hoarder. Okay, and nothing against anybody at all on that end. So, we keep talking about this idea of success. What is it? Well, for me, it literally boils down to let's get rid of all the clutter, all the junk that we don't require, whether it's physical stuff, whether it's mental processes, whether it is what I call dead weight friendships or dead weight connections. A dead weight connection to me is simply, are you putting effort into a relationship, into a friendship, where you're seeming to be the only one putting effort into it and getting virtually nothing in return back that you consider of value? If the answer is yes, you're doing that, it may be time to start looking at disconnecting. Okay, now the reality is, I did get married years ago. I am currently divorced. However, I do actually have a decent friendship with my ex-wife. Okay, and the reason for that is because there's a couple of reasons for it, but one of the biggest issues is that when we knew it was over, we pulled the plug on it. We didn't wait for it to get to the point of going, oh, let's fight until we can no longer tolerate the fighting. And don't get me wrong, we had our fights. But it came to a point, and many people are doing this now. What's going on is they get married and think it through. Because once you make a commitment, for better or for worse, that doesn't mean at the first hiccup. Okay. I mean, I think it was Joan Collins ended up getting married 8 times. You know, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with the institution of marriage. It is not for everybody. For me, it is. Okay. And the reality of it is this: you have to determine what you see as successful. Okay. And in my eyes, it's real simple. If I'm content, if I've got a roof over my head, I don't have to have all the newest stuff. I mean, obviously, I don't exactly have the newest stuff. I mean, let's face it, that's not exactly a solid oak bookshelf I've got behind me, which is my personal preference as far as wood goes. But it is pricey as all get out, and that shelf behind me is doing the job quite nicely. Much like this other one here that's still covered in a whole pile of junk. That will eventually be replaced with something else. Don't know what yet, don't know when. Okay, but decide what you feel is not working in your life. That's where you start with it. You know, people say, well, where do I start to change my life? Well, you start right here, right now. Okay. Oh, it's over there. You start. The time to start is, well, first of all, the 5 W's do apply. Who, you know, why, try that again. Who, what, where, when, why. And the follow up being how. So the who, we're talking about changing your life. Okay. And yeah, I'm talking to you. The funny part about it is I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at me in the camera going, I'm actually talking to him as well. Okay, nothing like talking to yourself on a live recording. So when it comes to success, start with the who. Well, who are you striving for success for? If it's for anybody other than you, you're likely to run into problems. Okay. Do it for yourself. If you're doing it for your kids, if you're doing it for your husband or your wife or the doctor or anybody, quite seriously, you're going to run into extra struggles. And the reason I say going to with such definitive is because I've got something in excess of 80,000 clients under my belt. Okay, and they've gone through a lot of them have gone through similar issues. So, who are you changing your life for? Well, hopefully it's you. Then you're on the way. Where are you changing your life? Well, wherever you live, wherever you are, does not matter. Doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter what society you're living with. The rule is still the same. It doesn't matter if you're a poor person or if you're a multi-billionaire. You have the same questions. Who am I changing my life for? Okay, that be first. Why am I changing my life? Well, presumably because you're not content with the way it is. If you're changing it because somebody else said it has to be changed, you're going to run into problems and you're going to end up going back down the same road. Okay, Lord knows I was told way too frequently, you have to keep an eye on your finances. You have to do this, that, and the other thing. The unfortunate part was, frankly, I didn't listen. Ended up in all sorts of problems. But once I got it through my head that why I was changing it was because I was not content, then things started to add up. Where do you start? Well, where you start is wherever you are. Now let's see, you're sitting, standing, in front of a computer. Maybe you're watching this through a cell phone. Okay. Wherever you are right this moment, whatever you're doing, this is where you start. Is right where you are. Okay. When do you start? Well, that's the easy part. When? Now. There is no point in putting it off till next Monday or I'm going to wait till the beginning of the month. Procrastination has never accomplished anything functional, aside from putting things off, which I'm not entirely certain is actually considered functional. So, I mean, I hope that was all 5. You're the who. The why is because you're not content theoretically. If you've got a different reason for changing your life, hey, knock yourself out. Where do you start? Wherever you are. When do you start? Right now. What are you doing? The what is the thing I missed. What you're doing is changing your life for what you consider the better. Okay. Now, how do you go about it? Well, this is where we've been working with things. And we've laid out, we mentioned that we were going to be putting another book together called The 4 P's of Success. Those 4 P's A purpose. Change your life. A plan. One step at a time. Okay, break it down so you can do one thing at a time. Okay, you can have multiple different projects on the go, but in case you hadn't noticed, I can hold a pen with this hand, but if I want it to be the only thing in my hand, that's not a pen, that's a letter opener. Oops. That gives you an idea what my day is like. But the only way I can carry only one thing in this hand is if I let go of this one, put it someplace else, and pick up another. Okay. Now, that's the what you're up to. When, where, why. How is real simple. Yes, I just doubled back on myself. This is a live recording. Okay, meaning I'm not going back to dub it out or to modify anything. I'm just not. I get finished, I tie it off, I post it. Okay. But you have purpose, you have a plan, you have to have persistence, you have to follow the plan. And you have to have patience. It did not take you a minute and a half to get to where you are in most cases. Sadly, some people do have accidents and go from, gee, I had it all and now all of a sudden I'm completely lost. Okay. And that can be absolutely devastating. However, can you change your life for the better, for what you consider the better? The answer is definitively yes. Now, it's always important to have a support structure around you. Some people have people around them, some people draw to animals, some people turn to what they can, to a higher power, whether they call it God, whether they call it whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, find a support system that works for you. Because I happen to be heavily reclusive, i.e., I stay home a lot, I found my support structure for the most part is with what I call God. Okay, in all fairness, I call him Father. That being said, there is a very big difference between father as in your corporeal father and father as in your spiritual one. Now, it doesn't matter what you call him. Okay, the one thing I don't do is I do not fear him at all. From my standpoint, if you're being told fear whoever you're worshiping, if you're being told fear them, you're being guided down a real complicated path. Think of it this way. Your parents. Would you prefer to live in a home where you feared your parents? And sadly, there are a great number of you out there that do. Okay. I will be the first one to tell you. If you're fearing somebody, you're not going to be succeeding as well as you like. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder, and ducking, you're not going to be as productive as you could be. And this is the same thing that applies on a global level. Okay. Countries that are at odds with each other, that are at war, going, it's great for the economy. Well, frankly, take a look at the economies of the worlds around you, especially the ones that are at war. Does it look like war has done them any good? And ask yourself this. If you're a researcher, if you're trying to make something that makes people healthier or makes people happier, are you going to be more productive if you're able to stand there and work on your computer, or sit there is more often the case, and work on your computer or work on a drawing board or work outside banging around in the shop? Are you going to do that more readily and more creatively and more productively if you're out there and everything's going smoothly, somebody walks by and says, hey, how's it going, Bob? Or are you going to be more productive if you've got to worry about who's shooting at who and whether or not somebody's ripping you off? Okay, is somebody breaking into your house while you're out there? If you're fearing what's going on, you're not going to be concentrating on making your life better. And by extrapolation, think of it this way. If you change your life, everybody around you will react in certain ways. Now, what I found, and this is a challenge for you, okay, what you dress like is not, should not be effectively, in my opinion, the critical factor. It's how you treat people. However, like it or not, people will react to the way you're dressed, to the way that you are, whether you've got tattoos, whether you've got piercings, whether you're dressed to the nines or dressed in you know, holy pants. Okay, try this. If you don't believe that people work that way, try this. Go to whatever restaurant you desire. Okay, I'd recommend it to one that you're not familiar with. Okay, go in there dressed absolutely in, in dirty clothes, in torn clothes, whatever. Real down on the bottom end of the barrel. Go in there one day, dress that way, and be really absolutely grumpy. I mean, how about if we just start with the go in there dressed poorly one day, be nice, be congenial. Go in a week or two later, dressed up as best you can into the same restaurant. Okay, and see the difference for yourself how people treat you. Okay, the same applies to if you go to a restaurant, you're really grumpy with people. Okay, my parents used to have a real wonderful saying: you will draw more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. Okay, meaning essentially, if you're nice to people, you'll get along better, you'll get better responses. Now, there are ways to use this to your advantage. Okay, on the whole, that works absolutely perfectly. Okay, where the way you treat people works absolutely great. And it's like I've told my own kids, dress how you will. I don't care, right? I mean, make sure you got clothes on when you go outside, but what you're wearing is not the issue. What matters is how you treat the people. Okay, it is amazing how many people seem to have missed that boat, especially given the number of so-called spiritual guides out there that go, fear this, that, and the other thing, and do not talk to those people because they're not of your social class. Well, they may not be social, but if you're looking down on people, they may not be the ones that are lacking in class. Just my personal outlook. And the reality is, I make no excuses for the way I am. Politically correct is not what I've ever been. Okay, I do my best to be polite. I do my best to respect people. I'm not perfect by any stretch. But take a look at the way you desire to be treated. If you desire to be sworn at, then certainly swear at the people around you. I'm not entirely certain why that would make you happy. Lord knows I've got a foul mouth on occasion, on quite a frequent occasion. But I don't tend to do it often in anger. Okay, if I'm mad, what comes out, comes out. But then if I'm happy, what comes out, comes out. So it works out kind of well. Okay. For me today, I missed yesterday putting up an extra video. Okay, because I'm looking at finding a number of different genres and different sequences. I never do one thing at a time. Heck, I can't even get one thought out at a time. So I've got the spiritual ones coming out on Sundays. I've got one on business itself coming out on Monday. And today, okay, I think that's right. Keep an eye out for them. I have a lot of trouble tracking time and what I'm up to, but I put one out today on the races of the worlds, on alien races. Okay, I will be doing another one that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you down the path that I walk down when I'm writing. Okay, and this new book that I've decided I'm going to put together, the 4 P's of success. Okay, that one we will progress with as we go along. I will probably start writing it today because I'm finally getting back into this routine. Yesterday, I ended up going through, I think I wrote about 15 pages yesterday between 3 different books. Okay, this is just the way I escape from the world. This is what my life is. Okay, and it's really kind of a strange setup. Like, I'm listening to myself while I'm talking to me, and I notice I speak a lot like this. It's probably why I end up with a coffee cup in my hand half the time. Okay, I used to play with knives a lot. This is, in all fairness, only a letter opener. It's not a knife. Okay. used to play with keys a lot, but they make way too much noise. Pick something that makes you content, because you've got to have that alone time. And there are four parts of your life that have to be in balance. And the reason I say have to be is because after the number of people I've talked to, I came to the understanding of these four parts. Average them out over the week. Okay, because averaging them out over the day, well, let's face it, where it comes to work, 8 hours a day of work is great. If you're working 40 hours, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. But in order to you work 8 hours a day and do the other 8 equally, you would have to literally have 32 hours a week in a day, 32 hours of time in a day, and you don't have it. If you spread it out over the week, okay, it works out to 6 hours a day. But the 4 areas, personal time, that's stuff that you do for you. In my case, I write. Yes, I'm turning around, I'm putting it out there, I'm selling it, that sort of thing. But I write. That's what I do for me. Or game. Dungeons and Dragons, Aftermath. I've played a lot of different tabletop role-playing games. Now I have found that I do play Skyrim on the computer as well. On the computer, on the PS5. Okay, so you've got your personal time. Then you've got your interpersonal with your friends, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. Hopefully, the friends you got lots of, boyfriend, girlfriend, only have one. It doesn't work well on the whole if you've got more than one. And for pity's sakes, if you've been lucky enough to find a husband or a wife, no boyfriends or girlfriends on the side. It does not end well. Okay. But you have your interpersonal, and that gets all mixed together. Split the time up there as you can. Then you've got your work. Now, work encompasses work itself or schooling, i.e., what am I doing to generate an income, or what am I doing to prepare myself to generate an income? Because you've got to have a way of making a living in today's world. The fourth one is one that most people forget. You still require sleep. Okay, now 8 hours of sleep, some people require it. Most, in all fairness, from what I've seen, really don't. Okay, now it's individual preference. Myself, if I get more than 3 hours of sleep at one stretch, I've done well. But those 4 areas, and you notice we've got 4 again, but split those up evenly and you'll find that things work a little better. Try for even. It isn't going to be to the minute. Just scrap that thought. Okay, but we are at the end of the half hour here, or just about. So I'm going to say again, I hope that I get a thumbs up from you. Absolutely subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of videos, a lot of past videos, especially where it comes to language. I've done a few videos. I've got to finish that series that you want to look up. That would probably do you well, discussing languages and the way that spoken words impact on your day-to-day life. So I do encourage you to go back and find those. Okay, one of the most important ones is the word can't. Okay, that word is absolutely devastating to moving forward in life. Okay, but listen to the video, it'll explain it. That being said, we're going to wrap this up because we're at the half-hour mark here. Okay, again, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other.